topics that are out there that you can research for yourself and educate yourself with. It's just been so natural for me, but not everybody has had that road. So I think so many people now are going to be coming into a time when they're seeing things happening and they can't quite explain it, but it even makes them they might even feel quite uncomfortable with it. You know, it's unsettling for them. You know,
one thing that they need to understand is that this is a very unusual period of time. It's very unique because we have many cycles coming to a closure now at this time. We also have the aliens that are here to help us, and we also are beginning our ascension into the fourth and fifth dimensions. This is a spiritual ascension that's taking place, and at the same time, Planet X is coming through our solar system and is going to cause a pole shift here on the Earth as it passes. So because it's quite close to us already, this is why we're getting more and more earthquakes, stronger earthquakes, more volcanic eruptions. And we can, if you want me to go into the Planet X, we can talk about that now.
Well, what I'd like to do, Ann, is actually just start with your beginning, and I'd like you to discuss with us your work with Dr. Ellen Hynek, and I definitely want to get into Planet X. I want to make sure we have plenty of time for that, because I really would like to speak about Planet X, and also what you were just touching on there briefly about the shift in consciousness that is now taking place here on the planet. So I want to make sure we have enough time for that later in the show. So why don't you just tell us a bit about how you, because many of the listeners may not have heard of you before, but many might have as well. So just briefly sort of explain to us how you came across Dr. Hynek and how you began working with him.
Okay, sure. I started having UFO dreams in 1976, and I had them night after night for 4 solid years. And it almost made me crazy. I didn't know what was taking place, and I started reading everything I could about UFOs and aliens and talking to anybody that would talk to me about it. And in everything I read, in every conversation I had, there was one name that kept cropping up, and that was Dr. J. Allen Hynek. Because, excuse me, he was known as the father of UFO alien research. And he was the man that was hired by the United States government and military to debunk all the sightings that they were having. They didn't want the public to become concerned with this at all. They didn't want us to freak out about aliens being here. But anyway, I thought, well, he's got to know the answers to my questions. So I wrote him a letter, told him about the dreams, and sent it to him. And I didn't hear a word from him for 9 months. And then one night the phone rang. And it was him, and he said he had just found my letter under his desk. Now, after I got to know him better, that was kind of typical. He was a little bit of an absent-minded professor.
Very typical of a scientist, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, and didn't keep the office very neat.
Yeah.
So he said he was interested in the dreams and wanted to know if I had kept a log, and he wanted me to tell him about them, so I did. And I sent him a copy of the log, and then I never heard another word. So this was in 1980. So in 1985, I was a nurse working nights at the hospital, and I came home one morning and opened up the newspaper, and on the second page, the headline was, Dr. J. Allen Hynek brings UFO research to Scottsdale, Arizona. Well, I couldn't believe it. It was literally in my backyard. So I thought, well, this is definitely an omen. I have got to go over there, and I've got to be involved. So that's what I did. I volunteered my time for the first 3 weeks and set up the office. And then Dr. Hynek asked if I would come to his office and set it up and be his personal assistant. So I said, well, I absolutely would. I thought it was an opportunity that only comes by once in a lifetime. And so for $100 a week was all he could pay, I went to work for him full time. And that was during the last year of his life. It wasn't too long after that he was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Yes. Yep.
So that's how I got involved in the UFO research part of it. So the year that I was with him, I met a lot of the researchers. I talked to an awful lot of the experiencers, the people that were being lifted and were having experiences with aliens. It was just fantastic.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The most exciting thing that year was when he sent me to a UFO conference in Wyoming.
Right.
And I was visited by a very large group of female extraterrestrials. So that was extremely exciting, and that has totally changed my life.
I want to get more into that story because I've heard you speak about this story before, but I just want to backtrack slightly because you've got lots of details there, and I want to make sure that we're picking up on all of them. Now, with Dr. Hynek, as you said, he was the main person that was brought in by the United States government to debunk anything related to UFOs. I mean, in terms of his own personal views, how did he feel about all of this? Was he a believer? I mean, or was he a very, like a typical staunch scientist?
Skeptical? He was an astronomer, excuse me, and an astrophysicist. He was very much a scientist, and he didn't really believe that these vehicles were extraterrestrial. In the beginning, he thought perhaps they were from another country, perhaps Russia.
Or maybe Germany, because I know supposedly Germany had been doing some experiments. Yeah.
Exactly, and when the Second World War ended, we recruited those German scientists into our underground society that was working with the aliens, and they helped us build all of the UFOs that we have today, and we now have a complete fleet, interstellar fleet. You would not believe what we have now that has been kept secret from everybody.
I think it would blow people's minds, absolutely, yeah.
It absolutely would. I mean, they have gone to the stars. They are capable of taking E.T. home. They can leave the planet whenever they want to. There's a moon base. There's a Mars base. It has all been kept under wraps, all been kept quiet from the average person.
Yes.
And NASA is just nothing. NASA is just a PR organization.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah, they're sort of like a smokescreen, aren't they? They're
exactly right.
They're the front guys for the space program, but behind the scenes there's a whole nother space program that is basically top secret, and nobody will ever discuss that.
So when they hired Dr. Hynek, the public was getting concerned because they were having more and more of these experiences. And so he was hired to find a logical, astronomical reason for these sightings, like it was the swamp gas or the moon chasing Venus or a weather balloon or something other than extraterrestrials. But then he did come to realize then that many of them were extraterrestrial.
Was he the person that termed that gave the description at the Roswell crash with the weather balloon? Did he come up with that?
I'm not sure. I think he had something to do with it. Yeah, I'm not sure if that was all his idea at that point. But we didn't talk a lot about Roswell. We were so busy with what was going on currently that we didn't get into a lot of the old stuff. And I thought if one more UFO researcher talks about Roswell at these conferences, I'm going to quit the whole thing. But no, that was a very important moment in the history of this whole UFO business because the craft did crash, and they did retrieve it, and they did retrieve a live alien at that time.
Yes, yeah. Now, I wanted to also ask you about Dr. Hynek's connection with Steven Spielberg, because didn't he coin the term, first encounter, second encounter, third encounter, which, of course, Steven Spielberg's gone on to make Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and he's made that term very popular. Is that correct?
Yes, Dr. Hynek did coin those terms, and he sold that term, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, to Spielberg for $1,000.
Right.
I saw the contract, and it says that Spielberg can use that term anywhere in the universe.
Right.
He was the scientific advisor to the movie. Dr. Hynek was, and he also had a bit part at the end of the movie.
Oh, did he? I'll have to look.
Yes.
I've never noticed that.
It's on my website. If you go on my website, you can click on the Close Encounters thing, and you can see where he is in that last scene. And he thoroughly enjoyed that. He just loved the whole Hollywood scene.
Right. I mean, obviously with Dr. Hynek, he's done some amazing things, and as we were just saying, he sold the term to Steven Spielberg. Did he also sell the storyline to Spielberg? Because I always wondered where he might have got that from.
Well, he was the scientific advisor. So what I think happened was Spielberg because Spielberg was connected to the aliens also. And I think Spielberg would come up with a scenario, and then he would run it by Hynek, and Hynek would either say yes, no, maybe, or maybe you could change it to this, that, or the other. So the themes in Close Encounter, we were transferring some of our military personnel to the ship to go to another planet. That, for a long time, that has been talked about under the guise of Serpo. Serpo was the name of that, what do I want to say, that clandestine movement.
Yeah.
And I do believe that we did that. I believe that we did exchange in the past.
Right, yes. Now, also, there's also lots of information out there about the United States. I mean, everybody always uses the United States as sort of the example, but it didn't just happen in the United States. It's happened here in Great Britain and across Europe as well. But we'll use America as a case study. In terms of alien contact, there are enough people that have now come forward from the government, whistleblowers, if you may, who have stepped forward to say, that the United States government had contact with ETs and exchanged information. That was during the did it begin in the Eisenhower during his time as president? Is that correct? Well,
yes. What happened at the time of Eisenhower was that he met with the aliens and he signed a contract with them. And ever since then, they've been in cahoots, the aliens and the Americans. And it's all been underground. It's all been a part of this secret the secret civilization that they have developed. He met with two different groups. The first group were the Nordics. Those were the tall blondes. And what Eisenhower wanted was their technology. And they refused to share it with us because they said we weren't advanced enough to use it for the good of mankind, that we would destroy ourselves. And they wanted us to detonate or to get rid of all of our nuclear warheads. And President Eisenhower was a military strategist, and he didn't think that was a very good bargain. So he said no, and then he met with the Greys from Zeta Reticuli, and he did sign a treaty with them, and he gave them, he gave them permission to abduct humans for their hybrid breeding program. And there were certain specifics, like no harm was to come to any of us, and they were to return us to the same place where they picked us up, and they were supposed to erase our memory so that we had no memory of what had happened. And then on a regular basis, the aliens were supposed to furnish MJ-12, which was this secret organization here in the United States, top secret. They were supposed to furnish them with a list